Welcome to In Your Neighborhood. I'm your host, Charlotte Brown, and on today's show, we are talking with Every Breath Counts Lung Group. My guests today are Shelley Prevost. She's the therapist at St. Joseph's Care Group, and Heather Cuff, who's the co-founder of Every Breath Counts. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what is Every Breath Counts.
Every Breath Counts is the name of a lung health support group that was initiated actually in November of 2014. It was formed to provide emotional support and education to people suffering from lung disease and their families and friends. Nothing is more important than breathing, nothing more fundamental to life than air. Anyone with a lung disease will tell you every breath counts.
Oh, that's so very true, and a very fitting name, that's for sure. So Heather, you're a co-founder. How did you come about wanting to start this group? Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, I've been involved in the pulmonary rehabilitation program at St. Joseph's for about 7 years, approximately. And that's an exercise program and an education program for people with lung disease. During my participation and chatting it up with other people, we found that people wanted an outlet to share their stories and their concerns and just get emotional support with peers, I guess I could say. And the Lung Association had contacted Shelley at St. Joe's with information about starting a lung support group. So we sat down, Cal Young and I sat down with Shelley, and the initiative was born.
Right.
And it started in November of 2014.
So still a fairly new group that's just started, so it's really great that we're getting the information out to everyone, that they know it exists. And so how was it that you got involved? You have COPD.
I do.
So let's talk a little bit about your story and how you were diagnosed. And
Right. Well, I was diagnosed approximately 22 years ago. At that time, it was moderate chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It was a bit of shock to me. I was referred to a specialist by my family doctor because I was complaining of some shortness of breath when I was exercising, out walking, for example, in the evenings, and certain weather conditions were seeming to affect it, damp weather, cold weather in winter. So they came up with this diagnosis. I didn't really understand what it was, and so the doctor explained it to me. And at the time, I actually asked him, well, if this is life-threatening, what am I looking at in terms of life expectancy? He informed me that it would be about 10 years. That's 22 years ago.
wow, wow.
So I continued on with my life. I was working full-time. I was always an avid walker. I had started golfing, so I continued doing that. And I was taking a puffer, salbutamol, to help open the airwaves, and I just kept as active as I could. But eventually I did become ill. As the years passed, I was hospitalized and then referred to Dr. Beeman, who's a respirologist. And I was still working, so I couldn't actually take part in an exercise program through St. Joseph's Care Group, but I did take part in an education component, which helped me gain a better understanding of the disease and what was going on with my body.
Right, which is so important, and I think that's probably one of your goals behind Every Breath Counts, is that you're being educated and you can learn about your disease and learn from people who are living with the disease. So if somebody has been recently diagnosed, which I'm sure it was so scary for you when you hear that, you know, like who do you turn to, who can you ask questions to, and who better than somebody who's living with it and who has beat those 10 years, you know, which is a great resource to have.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about lung disease. So when you were saying, Heather, that shortness of breath, I think people could easily overlook that, you know, I'm getting old, I smoke, I'm put on extra weight. You know, why is it important that people get checked, and what are some signs? Maybe you could chat about that a little bit, Shelley.
Well, what you mentioned, Charla, is truly very, very important point, and that is it takes a long time for lung disease to really show itself. And that's because we have a huge reserve in our lungs. If we were to take our lungs and every little lung unit, put it on the ground and flatten it out, it would cover a tennis court.
Wow.
So that's a huge amount of reserve. So in order to have symptoms that are worrisome enough to take you to a medical professional, a lot of that tennis court has to get damaged, and that doesn't happen quickly. It happens very slowly over a long period of time. So it takes about 20 years, 10 to 20 years for COPD, as an example, for those symptoms to become worse enough that you would want to go to the doctor. So in the meantime, you're aging, so your symptoms get attributed to other things, like you said. So I'm getting older, I put on a little weight, I'm out of shape because I never go to the gym, right? So the shortness of breath gets attributed to all those things. And it's not until it's bothersome enough that people will go to the doctor and ask for some help. There is a good test, and it's called the Canadian Lung Health Test. And what I like about the Canadian Lung Health Test is it asks you if you were over 40 years of age, if you are smoking, or if you have ever smoked, and you can answer yes to one of these questions, you need to get tested for COPD. So those questions are, do you cough regularly? Do you cough up phlegm regularly? Do simple chores make you short of breath? Do you wheeze when you exert yourself, such as walking up the stairs or exercising? And do you get frequent colds, or do these colds last longer than maybe they should, or compared to your friends? So if you can answer yes to one of those questions and you're over 40 and you have smoked or are smoking, then you need to get tested, because you could have COPD. You might not, but earlier diagnosis is better.
Like everything else, when people are getting checked for cancer or whatever, it's early detection is key, I think, in everything. So what does that test involve? So if somebody's going to their doctor, what would a test look like?
It's a very simple test. It's called a spirometry, and all it involves is taking a big, big breath in, blowing out as hard and as fast as you can, and to keep blowing out till there's absolutely no air left in your lungs. And we compare that result with what we predict to be normal for you, given your height, weight, age, and gender. And then we can see whether you're within a normal limit or if your results are abnormal. And then the next step is further testing, right?
Right.
But it's a very simple test, and it's underutilized. We know that it's underutilized in Ontario and in Canada, actually. So there's work to be done in that area.
Yeah. And very important to kind of get that message out, because I think there's certain tests that people know that at a certain age they should go and get, and this is definitely one that, as much as people don't like tests, this is a very simple one to talk to your doctor about if you have any of those issues, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to be back with more on In Your Neighborhood.